This is the story of Shirk. So generations after. And not only this is just the Yoruba culture, other culture, it did the same for other culture also. They found people who lived before them. Instead of them to only emulate those people as human beings, they took them as gods. So these people started worshipping the statues that their forefathers created only for them to emulate, started worshipping. So they have started straying. That's why the first messenger was sent, who was Prophet Noah. So Prophet Noah was sent to them. Notice how I called him Prophet Noah. And I just said he's the first messenger. That means all messengers are also prophets. But not all prophets are messengers. All messengers are prophets, but not all prophets are messengers.
The ones before you were not messengers.
They were not messengers, they were prophets. And remember again, the messenger, the message that the messenger brings, and all the messengers brought only one message. That message was La ilaha illallah. From Nuh to Muhammad. It was always La ilaha illallah. Okay, so now we know that Noah was the first messenger of Allah. So come and tell people, La ilaha illallah, stop all of this thing that you're worshiping. Go back to Allah, the Creator. Now think about how many generations from Adam were these people. So close. If that bothers you, think forward. Prophet Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, when he liberated the Israelites from Pharaoh, they just crossed the sea. They just saw a huge miracle, not just one. They saw the miracle that performed all the sorcerers, right? They saw that big miracle from Allah. It was showed us power of Allah. And just now, they just crossed the sea. They just saw the Red Sea parts. They just saw dry land in the middle of an ocean. They just walked past it. They just saw Allah destroy his enemies. What did they do after that? They molded a calf and they started worshiping it. That's not, that is human being. We want something that we can see. That's why a person will go to somebody that is shaking something for you like this, and they are telling you, or something that you can see that you will put oil on top of it by yourself, and they tell you to bow down to that thing. And because of what you are seeking, you are bound to that thing, forgetting that just in the morning you just said La ilaha illallah, and you just said La hawla wa la quwwata. You just forgot. And when these things happen to us, we are no better than the people who have done it before. You should think about the Israelites who were ungrateful to Allah. And you should think about the people before Prophet Noah who were misled by Shaitan. So let's go back to where we're coming from. So Noah was the first messenger. Messenger sent to people to remind them, only God, don't worship anything else but Allah. Now, when Allah sends a messenger, he always sends them with proof. Because anybody can claim to be a messenger. A king, if a king cannot come to a party or to a function, he will send someone with his staff. When you see the staff of the king, you know that is the king. Right? You know that that person is from the king. So you treat that person the way you would treat the king. And that is how Allah does. Allah sends a messenger, he sends them with something to show the people that this person has come to you from me with a message. So listen to him. Listen to that person. The Prophet Muhammad said, ما من الأنبياء من نبي إلا أوتي إلا أوتي آية مثل ما آمن عليه الناس آمن عليه البشر. That there is none of the messengers or of the prophets of Allah that Allah sends to the people, except that Allah gives them a sign that the people that the person is sent to can relate with. You give them a sign that the people know, that they can acknowledge, that they can relate with. For the people of Prophet Noah, they were handcrafty, they were crafty men. I don't know if crafty is the correct word, but they were handy men, right? Handcraft was part of their thing at the time. But no one knew much about a big project like building a ship. And where they were living, there were no seas. So there was no need for ship or boats. So nobody knew, and there's a special design that you have to do for a ship. Who knows about how to build a ship? You can't just build something flat. It has to have a bow and all of that. And so when they saw him building the ship, that was supposed to be sign for them to show that this is different. Where is this coming from? First, that is the first entry point. That's where you identify this person is from Allah. After Prophet Noah, think about other messengers that Allah sent. Let's take it from Prophet Musa. Prophet Musa was also a messenger of Allah. What was the sign that Allah gave to him? The stick. During that time, what the people knew were miracles. The people knew about miracles. But the only miracles they saw were from magic. So magicians were the ones who were leading in society. If you're a magician apprentice, you're a big man in society. People respect you, they fear you, right? That is why when Musa first came to Pharaoh and told Pharaoh that, Lord, the one true God has sent me to you. He has asked me to tell you to free the people of Banu Israel. The first thing Pharaoh said to him was, what is your proof? And what did Musa do? He didn't drop his stick first. He put his hand under his armpit, brought it out, and everything lightened up. And Pharaoh said, oh, so you have leprosy. So what? And then he dropped the staff, and it turned to a huge snake. And Pharaoh said, oh, so it's magic. He didn't tell us, come back in 7 days. Let's meet in a public place. We'll call our own magicians. You bring your own magic. Let's see which one is better. That is something they could relate to. That is power. That is something that is magical, because that is what was high in society at the time. So he brought his own magicians, and then Musa brought his own staff. The power of Allah will always stand out against other powers. Anything that Allah is the source of will always be different, even if it looks like something else that is man-made. It will always stand out. It will be different. It can't be the same ever. That is why, as Muslims, we never claim to do anything ourselves. Because even if you are capable of doing something yourself, isn't it better to attribute it to Allah? If Allah does it for you, if Allah does it for you, it will last longer than whatever even if you are capable of doing anything, and you are not capable of doing anything by yourself. You were not even capable of waking up this morning. No, you were not capable of waking up this morning. Did you wake up yourself this morning? You were not. You were lost. In fact, sometimes when we dream, we don't want to wake up from our dream. So you were not capable of waking yourself to begin with in the morning. So how do you think you're not doing everything you're doing? That is the belief of the Muslim. There is no power. When I woke up this morning, it wasn't me. It wasn't my power. Anything that is not my power. So when the magicians dropped everything that they had, again, to them, it is powerful. That is the height of power. But it is not from Allah. When Musa dropped his own and swallowed everything that he had, he overcame it. Think about it and juxtapose that to everything else we have in life today. There are powers around us that we are not aware of. There are powers, whether we acknowledge it or not, there are powers around us that we are not aware of. But the power of Allah is greater than any power around us. Again, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. Because the source of the power that Musa was wielding is not the same as the source of the power that they were wielding. He was able to overcome them. If it was from the same source, they would have overcome Musa. Because he couldn't have the same knowledge as those master magicians, people who had spent years being magicians. How come he just became a messenger maybe less than a year to that time? I mean, Allah just called him. Allah called him one night. The next day, he's on his way to Egypt. It's not even up to a year. So even if he was studying magic, he hasn't studied that magic up to 1 year. And he's standing today against people who have spent their lives being apprentices and being master magicians. If he had used magic, they would have overcome him because they are greater than him in that field. The only reason he overcame them was because his source was different and greater than their source. Today, brothers and sisters, if your source is one of those dark forces, you can never beat them. So they will not tell you one witch is against you. If you have no connection to witchery, or sorcery, or anything, if all you know in your life is Quran, wallahi, they can never defeat you. No matter where they get their power from, if it is not Allah that is the source of that power, and if you have not tapped from their source before, if your own source is purely Allah, you have not tapped from their source, you are not walking their path, you have never walked their path before, wallahi, they will run from you. In fact, they will not even come around you. The only reason they can stand in front of you and make parts is because they know your weakness. Maybe there's a connection between you. If there's no connection and your power, your source of power is from Allah, wallahi, they will run from you. They will not even cross your path. Nothing will join you with them. That's why we're careful. Don't go to this place, don't go to that place, stick to your Quran. Whatever happens to you, accept that it's from Allah. Don't go and join forces with these people. If Musa's source had not been from Allah, he would have overcome him. You want to always overcome, make Allah your only source. So that was the proof that Allah gave to Prophet Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. Then after Musa was proved, Prophet Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. So you have, notice how I'm calling them prophets, but they're messengers because they came to tell the people to worship Allah, right? But all messengers are prophets. So for Prophet Isa, the people of his time were medically inclined. They were philosophers, the Jews, the Romans, they were philosophers, medically inclined, educated people. That is why his greatest miracle is giving life and curing diseases that were hitherto uncurable. As advanced as they were in medical science, as much knowledge as they had in medical science, none of them could wake the dead. None of them could cure leprosy. But Allah gave it to Prophet Isa was a sign to show them, me, I didn't study medicine. I don't know the first thing about it, but I can wake the dead. Be easily in that. The power that I'm using to show is not my own knowledge. It is the power from the source. What you need to do is ask me from where. I tell you from Allah, and it's the one I'm telling you to worship. So again, the point is, when Allah sends a messenger, He gives them a sign. Now, what is the sign that Allah gave Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? We never heard in the story that he raised the dead. We never heard in the story that he cured leprosy. We never had anything very big about him. But there's something very big about him. The miracle that Allah gave to the Prophet as proof to show the people of the world that he is from Allah, that the sentiment is the Quran. Now you know how, and we'll look at it as a book. How is it a miracle? First of all, this book has survived. It is the most scrutinized book in the world. This book is the only book that makes claims that span centuries. It made claims during the time when the claims made no sense. You understand? Making a claim that makes no sense to the people of that time, it only makes sense to people centuries later. The Quran says, وَالشَّمْسُ تَجْرِي لِمُسْتَقَرٍ لَهَا ذَلِكَ تَقْدِيرُ الْعَزِيزِ الْعَلِيمِ. That the sun, it rotates in its axis. Where was the telescope with which they could have checked whether the sun was rotating? If you look at the sun, you can never notice that it's moving. We know the earth is moving because there's day and night. What tells us that the sun is moving? Who could have confirmed it during the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Now, if the Quran was lying about it all those years ago, would we not have found out today? Just imagine that when technology advanced to the point where we could now make telescope, we could now check, and then we confirm that no, the sun doesn't even move an inch. What would have happened to the Quran then? Now think about how many scientific claims the Quran made that could not have been confirmed. It was not possible that somebody knew these things and made the claims then. Bold claims at that time. The Quran itself is its existence is a miracle. But how does it relate to the people of the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? At the time, you see the Arabs, very knowledgeable people, philosophers, and the Arabic language itself, it's a very robust language. So people today say, why is the Quran revealed in Arabic? Why not in other languages? In the Kuffar of that time, they also said the same thing. Why Arabic? Why not Yoruba? Yoruba is not as robust as Arabic. It's not even close. Not even close. 10 year, the but of the languages of the world, the language that can stand beside Arabic, not even English. English just came. English is new baby. Not even English. You know, we talk about the Semitic languages. Arabic is one of them. Hebrew is one of them. Those are the languages that the book of Allah were revealed in. You talk about the book of the Jews revealed in Hebrew or Arabic or all those ancient languages. Some of them have not survived till today. Arabic has survived and has evolved. Now, no matter how evolved Arabic gets, the Quran still needs. So if you're learning Arabic, you learn about balaga, you learn about Nahu, grammar, you learn about Sarfu, morphology. The Quran was sent through a messenger who could neither read nor write. Arabic language has a lot of rules. That's one of the things that make it unique. Rules. You can say one thing and say it in another way and have another meaning. That's why it's very bad to make mistakes when you're reciting the Quran. That's why we're very staunch about pronouncing things right when you're reciting the Quran. Because a single mispronunciation can give a different meaning to something. Calling Ain Ha can give it totally different meaning that has no relationship at all. You can say something different by simply misplacing one letter, calling it wrongly. So the Quran was revealed to people in their language in a way that the knowledge of it transcends the most knowledgeable of them. There were people of poetry, the Arabs, people of poetry. There were people in Arabic language, unless you have studied Arabic, I don't know how to explain this. Again, poetry for them, even in speaking, even in writing, so much so that they can write prose where every letter that ends the sentence, it will be the same letter ending every sentence. You know, in English, when you write a poem in English, you're trying to do a rhyme. You know, you just want the words to rhyme. For them, it's about letters. The letters will rhyme every sentence, the last letter of every sentence will rhyme throughout the passage. The Quran was revealed the same way to them, to show them that, and you couldn't have done this ordinarily unless you studied with a great scholar, you know, and you have to spend years learning this, how to write, find correct words that end with those letters to conform throughout the passage and all that. But the Prophet Muhammad never went to a school, didn't know how to read. If you gave him a book, he could not read from it. So there could be no way for anyone to claim that, oh, the stories that he's talking about, he read it from the book of the Jews. He can't read. He cannot write. So you cannot say, oh, no, maybe he has recorded this somewhere before. He's not going to bring it out. There was no way you can claim those things against him. Throughout his lifetime, after he died, so people started making claims that, oh, the prophet probably is studied under one of the scholars, one of the Jewish scholars. And then we say, okay, say we agree. How come the Jewish scholar, does he have a name? Tell us the name of the scholar. Why didn't the Jewish scholar himself come out to say, I'm his teacher? Okay, so the Jewish scholar, you know, connived with him, right, to make the bold claims that he had revelation. Instead of the Jewish scholar to out him, just decided not to snitch, right? What about the children of the Jewish scholar that taught him? Let them come out and say it is our father that taught him, or it is our great grandfather. Nobody can make that claim that he studied under our father. He had no teacher. His teacher was Jibril, and his father was Salah. So that is the miracle that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to show mankind that this is from me. A book that we can read, that can remind us over and over again. No need to send messengers again. This book now contains the message. It has now collected, again, that one single message that we sent all the messengers to come and deliver to you. It's now in this book. Now be reading it. Be reminding yourself. So long as you forget, this book is here to remind you. Part of the names of the Quran, like I was saying earlier, is Ezekiel, the reminder, the remembrance, or the reminder. It is there to remind you that which you tend to forget so often, that there is only one God, Allah. And that if you worship him and him alone, you will get reward. And that if you fail, if you disobey him, you will be punished. This book is now doing that. That's why there's no need for a messenger anymore. Now, this book, again, it didn't just come. It came, brought proof that it is from Allah, also made claims, and made bold challenges. He said, Are they saying that you made it up? Are they saying that you made it up? Are they claiming to you that you made the book up? Let's say to them, bring a verse like it. Just don't break the whole Quran. Don't make an example of the whole Quran. Try to formulate one verse like it, as perfect as it. Just one verse. Formulate one of your own. Don't take from it. Formulate one of your own. وَجَعُوا شُهَدَاءَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ وَجَعُوا شُهَدَاءَكُم مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ and bring your witnesses that will prove that you did it by yourself and you had no help. You know what? Let's let them have help. Let's give them help. He said, Cool. Allah said to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, say to them, they are still doubting the Quran. So say to them, لَإِنِ اجْتَمَعَتِ الْإِنسُ وَالْجِنُّ على أن يأتوا بمثل هذا القرآن لا يأتون بمثله ولو كان بعضهم لبعض ظهيرا. Say to them, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, لَإِنِ اجْتَمَعَتِ الْإِنسُ وَالْجِنُّ if the human beings, they come together, all humans, they cooperate amongst themselves. وَالْجِنُّ and then the jinns, the ones that we cannot see, they also cooperate amongst themselves. They form a committee of the whole. The humans form a committee of the whole. The angels form a committee of the whole. And they come together. You know, we don't agree on anything. But let's agree on this one thing, that we will do this together. We'll cooperate on this. White, black, green, brown. All of us come together. And here to be this the as Quran. To create something similar to this Quran. This is the purpose of our coming together. We will cooperate to create something like this Quran. The jinns too will come together to create something that looks like this Quran. You know what? Allah then says, no, Allah then says, don't do it separately. Humans and jinns. Even if you join forces, don't form your own committee separately. Humans, join with the jinns. Assist yourselves to create this kind of Quran. You cannot. You cannot. Then he further says, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ Do they not look deeply at this Quran? Are they not looking deeply at this Quran? وَلَوْ كَانَ مِنْ عِنْدِ غَيْرِ اللَّهِ If it has been from anyone else other than Allah, لَوَجَدُوا فِي اخْتِلَافًا كَثِيرًا They would have many discrepancies in it. I did not look deeply at it. You know, I mean, what's the fastest way to prove that it's a lie? It's not from Allah. You will find discrepancies. You will find somewhere where it says something probably not true, or where it says something and then another place is saying something else. There's no such thing in the Quran. Some people have tried to investigate the Quran to prove it wrong, to prove that it's not from Allah, to prove that it's a lie, and they ended up accepting Islam. Because they found nothing as pure. They found nothing as precise as the Quran. I had recently, and this is a story, you can Google it. This person was a scientist, a French scientist. It's a popular story. I didn't hear it before. Somebody just told me sometime last year. He set out to prove that the Quran was wrong. This is a person that is an archaeologist, right? So he heard about the story of Fir'aun in the Quran. You know, the Quran made claim that the Fir'aun, when Musa crossed the sea and his people, the ocean closed up on him and he drowned. But before he drowned, he said, "Oh, now I believe in the God of Musa and Aaron." And Allah said, "Oh, you guys are right. What we'll do to you is that we'll preserve your body as a sign for people to see that this is what we do to people who disbelieve. So his body was preserved. This man now wanted to prove that the Quran is lying. When he dug into it, he found out that the salt, because normally the salt water, that sea water is salt water, it should cause the body to decay. First of all, is that the body was not found until years later. They did not bring the body out of that water until years later. How come it was preserved? It should have decayed by mere physics, mere biology and physics and all the natural forces acting on the body in the seawater. It should have decayed. But because the Quran made the claim, and it is that way, this man accepted Islam. That is not possible any other way. Not possible any other way. They embalmed the body, but there should have been nothing left to embalm as of the time that they brought out the body from under the water. There should be nothing left to embalm. But something must have preserved this body. And if this is the only book that claims that the body will be preserved, and the body will be preserved up to the point where they brought it out of the water and they embalmed it, he accepted Islam by virtue of that. And so you have other examples. If you check on online, you'll find other examples of other scientists who set out to disprove the Quran but ended up accepting Islam. Ended up accepting it as truth because they could find nothing contrary. The Quran, that's why you don't find Muslim scholars fighting against science. Because if anything else, science further proves the point of the Quran. There has not been a time when true science, and of course, science or any scientific discovery is something that is repeatable, replicable. I don't know what else scientists define that thing. It has to be repeatable, replicable, something, measurable. Thank you. Measurable, replicable. If they follow measurable, replicable, and all of that, it will come back to conform with the Quran. Like I said earlier, all the claims made here were made at the time when they could not have been confirmed. It wasn't possible to say, oh, he knew about it before, he recorded it, no one knew anything about anything. Space travel was only recent. Most of the things they are finding in space in the Quran. Even the Prophet himself had no idea about most of those things, but they stand true today. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said all of these things about the Quran. وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاءٌ وَرَحْمَةٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَلَا تَزِيدُ الظَّالِمِينَ إِلَّا خَسَارًا. We have revealed in the Quran that which is a source of healing. لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ, for the believers. It is a source of healing for those who believe. If you go to the Quran, if you approach it with the wrong attitude, if you approach it with the wrong intention, وَلَا يَزِيدُ الظَّالِمِينَ إِلَّا خَسَارًا. The ones who come against the Quran will not find anything inside it except destruction. So the more they read it, the more lost they get. Whereas you that are a believer, the more you read it, the more guided you are. The person who approaches the Quran with a bad mind, the more they read it, the more lost they get. That's why you wonder somebody, because they're trying to disprove the Quran, they're telling you something from the Quran and they're interpreting it wrongly. And they believe that they are correct in their interpretation of it. That is because وَمَا يَزِيدُ الظَّالِمِينَ إِلَّا خَسَارًا. Ìtì bẹ̀rẹ̀ ọkàn wọn tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀, òun náà ló máa lékè kàsí lọ́kàn wọn tó bá ti ń fi ọkàn aburú lọ wò ó. Pé tó bá fi ọkàn àgbọ̀ wò ó, ọlọ́run ìwòsàn bẹ́ẹ̀ tí ó máa wo ìwòsàn. Oríṣiríṣi àìsàn ní máa wá ṣèyàn. Àìsàn tá a fojú rí ṣèyàn. Àìsàn tá a dẹ̀ fojú rí náà wà bẹ́ẹ̀. Èyí tá a fojú rí orí fọ́ mi, mo kọ́ lọ Kùránì. Àìsàn tá a lè fojú rí àìsàn ọkàn. Ìbànújẹ́ bá mi, àbí ìrẹ̀wẹ̀sì kàn mí. Al-Qur'ani a máa wo gbogbo àwọn àyíwòsàn tí yẹn bá nígbàgbọ́ nínú ẹ̀. Ẹlòmíì lè máa wọ́n náà ní sẹ́gbẹ́ ní how can we say that the Quran can cure diseases of the heart or unseen ailments? Ẹ dákun, Yorùbá mú láti fi sọ eléyìí. Tí Yorùbá bá lè pọ̀pọ̀ tí nǹkan dẹ̀ ń ṣe, ọ̀pọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ èèyàn lásán, nǹkan dẹ̀ ń ṣe. Ọ̀rọ̀ Ọlọ́run ó ju ọ̀pọ̀ lọ bí ọba pè sí nǹkan kó wọ́n ṣe jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Ẹ̀gbọ́n Yorùbá bí ọba lè pọ̀pọ̀ sí nǹkan tí nǹkan dẹ̀ ń ṣe bí ọba pè ọ̀rọ̀ Ọlọ́run sí nǹkan máa ṣe jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Òun ló fi já sí pé kò sí ìtó kéré ní ayé àlùkùránì. Wọ́n ní àwọn tó wá sọ pé aago méjìlá ọmọdé ìwé jáde sí nìkan. Ò. Bẹ́ẹ̀ wá pé kò sí kéèyàn pè ní àlùkùránì tí ò ní agbára. Torí pé ní ọ̀rọ̀ náà ọ̀dọ̀ Ọlọ́run ló ti wá. Láwọn àǹzálílẹ̀ áńzàlùkù áńà àdájábàlẹ̀. Láwọn àìtàwù káṣí ẹnìmọ̀tàsọ́tì àmì káṣíyàtì. Àlùkùránì lẹ́pẹ̀lẹ́ fi kéré kan lálẹ́ dáadáa. Bí ò tiẹ̀ yéèyàn tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ bí ẹ̀ka tiẹ̀ wò lásán pé ìwé yìí látọ̀dún tó ti ń bẹ àwárí ẹnìkan tó ń ta kò dọ́là. Èèyàn wà nírú ìwé yìí lára ó wá wà lára èèyàn pé èèyàn wá ń gbé ìgbésí ayé tí ó bá ìwé yìí mu. Wọ́n sọ pé wọ́n jí mi lójú wọn pé ìbẹ̀rù kan wá jí mi. A sọ pé ẹ̀rù wá ń bà mí nígbà tí ò sí Kùránì nílẹ̀ mi tí nǹkan bá wà nílẹ̀ nǹkan tún kọ́ lọ wà láì nǹkan tún kọ́ lọ. Tí tó bá kọlu Kùránì tó bá kọlu nǹkan àbí nǹkan bá kọlu nǹkan yẹn ló máa fọ́. Ó kọlu nǹkan yẹn máa ṣe nǹkan máa ṣe nǹkan yẹn. Nǹkan tó wá kọlu ibi tó dúró sí nǹkan máa tún ṣe nǹkan yẹn báyìí lọ. Alájábà lẹ́nu. Lára àìsàn owó káṣí àmúta sókè àmì káṣí ẹ̀ ti gbà. Àgbàdo ní bàbá yóò di agbo àpáta ńláńlá àpáta náà sì. Òkè ńláńlá yóò di ewu pẹ̀lú. Kó máa wà lára èèyàn. Àgbàdo láti wà lára wa níta fẹ́ sọ náà. Ó láti wà lára bí ìmọ̀ṣẹ́ tí mélòó ló kù sí oní. Torí nínú tí mo dúró sọ, part of what I was hoping to talk about is also so one of the things that confuse people, and I hope that we will no longer be confused about it, is that some people might come and say, "Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr." We caused the Quran to descend the night of majesty. If we cause the Quran to descend on the night of majesty, how come we also say that some verses were revealed during this time, some other ones were revealed at this time, some were revealed to the Prophet when he was in Mecca, some were revealed, but you said it descended on the night of majesty. Allah also said, "Inna anzalnahu fi laylatin mubarakatin inna kunna munzilin." We made it to descend in the night of blessing. So if the Quran descended in one night, we talk about later to the night when the Quran descended. So if the Quran descended in one night, is it this one with this blue cover? What color was it? What was the volume of the Quran that descended in the night of majesty? So that Quran that descended, where is it? Again, is it this one that we are reading right now? And then people will try to confuse you and tell you, "Oh, the Quran was written by humans. Can't be the word of Allah." Listen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, first of all, does not operate like us humans. Another thing, Allah is so powerful that He knows yesterday, today, and tomorrow. He is the planner, the architect, and the designer. What will happen, He knows. Right? We can see in 2D. You see yesterday and today. Allah can see in multiple Ds, because we can't say it three. He can see multiple Ds. He knows all the varieties of things that will happen based on logic. So if you raise your hand, this is what will happen to you. If you don't raise it, this is what will happen to you, and so on and so forth. He knows what choice you will make at the end of everything, with all the choices in front of you. So the Quran, written by Allah, like the record of every human being. Every of our record has been written before we were born. Do you agree? Yet, you live in the day at a time. The fact that your record has been written before you were born does not mean you just wake up, you fulfill everything that's been written in your record, and you die. No, you still live a day at a time. But your record has been written. From the day you are born to the day you will die. It is already in one book with Allah. In the Lawh al-Mahfuz. The same with the Quran. Everything in the Quran that Allah will send to every messenger. Let's focus on Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Everything that Allah will send to the Prophet that will come at the end to be the Quran has been written in one book with Allah in the Lawful Mahfuz. Now, on the night of majesty, Allah sent that one book down to the heaven of the earth, the first heaven, the one closest to the earth. When the Prophet Muhammad was raised, based on events and timing, the angel Jibril will go to the heaven of the earth and bring the verses or surahs that conforms with the events currently happening and reveal it to the Prophet. That's why you have places in the Quran where Allah will say, yes, alunaka and this, or yes, alunaka and that. They are coming to ask you this. When they come, tell them this. That is why when the Prophet ﷺ first came out to his people, because when Allah first raised him, the first Allah told him is, وَأَنزِرْ أَشِيرَتَكَ الْأَقْرَبِينَ. وَأَنزِرْ أَشِيرَتَكَ الْأَقْرَبِينَ. Warn your close relative first. I want to call the chef from the He called his family members, his uncles, everybody, and he gave them the message. There's only one God. Leave all these things, idols that you are worshiping. Everybody, some of them did not listen to him. Some of them turned their backs and walked away. Rubbish. It just went. It was Abu Lahab that said, Tabba ya Muhammad, Uba for ya like ya. Also, was the Anabi Allah. Now, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam does not respond to curses. It was Allah that responded. How? And then Jibril came to him at that moment and told him, Tabbat yada, recite to them, tell them, Tabbat yada, Abi Lahabi wa Tabba. Allah knew that Abu Lahab would do what he did. Allah had prepared the response for him in the Quran. But when he did what he did eventually, go and bring the verse, the surah that conforms with what he has just done. He has quite read it. So Jibril will come and read that to the Prophet will read it to the people. This is the new chapter that just came. Tabbat yada Abi Lahabi wa Tabba. ما أغنى عنه ماله وما كسب سيصلى نارا ذات لهب وامرأته حمالة الحطب. At that point, people did not know who was placing thorns on the road for the Prophet. It was that ayah that revealed it to the Prophet. It is the wife of Abu Lahab that places thorn on the road for you, so that you'll be stepping on it. That is the surah that came. So when things happen, the surah will be sent to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When the kuffar, when they poisoned the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when they did sorcery and they went to put things together and chew it in the well, Surah Al-Falaq was revealed to the Prophet. Kul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq. Every time you say Kul a'udhu, for every one of this that you recite, Allah will untie the knots that He tied to tie you down. So it existed with Allah. But to come to the Prophet is based on events. So you ask, well, why didn't Allah just send it down to the Prophet at one time, just like that? The Kuffar also asked for the same thing. You see, the books before the Quran were sent down that way. The book that was given to Musa was given to him, the Ten Commandments, right? Yeah. It was given to him at once. The book that was sent to Prophet Isa was given to him at once. The book that was sent to Dawood, the Zabur, was sent to him at once. However, for Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, remember, he could not read nor write. If a book was sent to him, how would he have read it? Okay, so they sent a book to him. We have read now. Secondly, if a book was sent to him that contains that yada Abi Lahabi wa Tabba, Allah hasn't even done anything. Would it make sense at that time? It wouldn't make sense. And again, Allah is the wisest. So you think about it now, and it begins to make sense. So it wouldn't make sense to have sent down a whole book, because the book contains stories of the past, it contains stories of the present, contains stories of the future. So you send that whole book, you have wasted, there's no context in sending the book. So Allah made it contextual, based on happenings and events. So that is another fact right there. I don't know if we have extra time, so I can talk about when people say human beings wrote the Quran, how that came about. Do we have time for that?
Yes.
Okay. So when someone approaches you and tells you, oh, human beings wrote the Quran. Yes, human beings wrote the Quran. However, human beings wrote what already exists. Human beings did not write words of their own. They wrote the words of the Quran as is from where it was recited before that time. You see, during the time of the Prophet Muhammad, what you will hear is that why did, if it is from Allah, if it is true, why didn't the Prophet write it during his time? Or why did the Prophet not command people to write it and make a book of it? It is simple. Throughout the life of the Prophet Muhammad, his Quran continued to be revealed to him. At what point could he have written the Quran? The Quran did not, the revelation of the Quran did not stop until the final year of his life. Where Allah said to him, وَتَمَّتْ كَلْمَةُ رَبِّكَ صِدْقًا وَعَدْلًا وَتَمَّتْ كَلْمَةُ رَبِّكَ صِدْقًا وَعَدْلًا. And the words of your Lord is complete. وَعَدْلًا, and it is stable. لَا مُبَدِّلَ الْكَلِمَاتِ. There can be no changing of his words. There can be no changing of his word. Nothing can change it. Again, like I said, the Quran comes with bold claims in defense of itself. It says, لا يأتي الباطل من بين يديه ولا من خلفه. That nothing, no harm can come to the Quran from behind or from in front. That means no harm can come to it from the past. No harm can come to it from the future. It remains protected. نحن نزلنا الذكر إنا نحن نزلنا الذكر وإنا له لحافظون. We are the ones that set down the reminder. We are the ones that will protect it. No human being can protect it. And I said, we are the ones that set it, we are the ones that will protect it. That's why it remains the way it is. So the Prophet did not command people to write the Quran as a whole while he was alive, because the Quran kept being revealed to him until the last time, until the final revelation where he got to say, where he got اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. That today I have perfected your religion. That is when the Prophet himself knew that time has come. That's when he told the people that this is my last hijrah. Because there's no message again. And Allah said, I have perfected the religion. What else is he waiting for? He has fulfilled his purpose. So with that revelation, the Prophet knew time has come. This will be my last hijrah. And then he fell sick, and that was it. So what time did he have between the last revelation and the time of his death to bring people together to write the Quran, to compile it? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this same Quran has already said, Inna alayna jama'ahu wa Qur'anahu. People tend to forget that. So the Quran says, Inna alayna jama'ahu. It is upon us. We take it upon ourselves. That is Allah saying. We take it upon ourselves to compile it. And the reading of it, we take it upon ourselves. That is, Allah will make the compilation at his own time. So, after the death of the Prophet Muhammad, during the lifetime of the Prophet, there was something that the Prophet used to tell people that do not record anything from me except the Quran. So my words, the words of the Prophet were not written down during his lifetime. He prohibited it. Do not write down anything from me except the Quran. So people will listen to the Quran, they will write it in on stones, in sand, or some of them will take this thing, the hop on the camel's back, they will write some parts of it on there. So it was everywhere. Some of them would on trees, some of them would memorize it. And so it was until even after the death of the Prophet, and then years after that, Abu Bakr was the Caliph at the time. So after that, there were fighting wars. Now there was one particular war during the Caliph of Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. Many of the people who had memorized the Quran were killed in that war. So Zayd bin Thabit narrated that one day I went to see I was summoned by Abu Bakr. When I got to Abu Bakr's house, I saw Umar, radiallahu anhu. And Abu Bakr said to me that Umar has come to me. Remember, Umar is the second caliph after Abu Bakr. So Abu Bakr said to me that Umar came to me and said that our people, a lot of people have died in the Battle of Yamam. The battle is called the Battle of Yamam. A lot of people have died in the Battle of Yamam. Most of them were people who have memorized the Quran. And I fear that if we continue this way, people who have memorized the Quran will keep dying, and I fear that the Quran will die with them. I suggest that we should compile the Quran in one place for safe keeping. So that it's not just residing in people's memory. It is not, remember during the time of the Prophet, people used to write it everywhere. It's everywhere, not in one place. So Abu Bakr now said that when Umar said this to me, I said to him that, what are you talking about? How can you suggest something that the Prophet himself did not do during his lifetime? And Umar said that, I just think that this is a good idea. Abu Bakr said, I ignored him until Allah revealed to me that which he revealed to Umar. That is, until Allah brought my heart towards that which he brought to the heart of Umar. That is, he also got convinced to compile the Quran. So when he narrated this to Zayd bin Thabit also now said that. Then I said to him, why are you thinking about something that the Prophet did not do? The same thing Abu Bakr said to Umar. And they said to him also the same thing. That he also said that, so I ignored them until such a time when Allah disposed my heart towards that which He disposed their heart towards. And after that, I began to compile, to find everywhere that the Quran has been written. All those who have written it in different places, I began to gather them together. I began to gather people who have memorized it, gather it together, compare one to the other, and put it together in the book. So this is how the Quran was put together. It was gathered in its original version. Not that some people now sat down somewhere and decided this is what should be this is what should be that. No, it was compiled from people's memory. So rather than let it live in memory, let it be written down. Because don't we say that ma hufiza father, woman kutiba father. That which is memorized can be forgotten, can be lost, but that which is written down will remain. And this is how the Quran came to be written and compiled in one place. So it decided with Abu Bakr when it was passed on to Umar. When Umar died, Umar passed it to his daughter, Hafsa. When Hafsa, during the time of Hafsa was also the time of the Khilafah of Uthman. And there were also some changes made in terms of the version. The Quran was revealed on seven in 7 ways. So that is when an agreement was made on one single version. So you don't have a different version. They had different tribes at the time. So they had to decide on which one. So Uthman decided on the Quraysh version, which is the tribe of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that is what now came to be the Quran that we all have ubiquitous across the Islamic nations today. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم وسبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
كبير الله.
الله أكبر.
كبير الله.
الله أكبر.
كبير الله.
الله أكبر.
Alhamdulillah, 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 Rabbil Alameen. We give special thanks to our Sheikh for this wonderful lecture you have given to us today. Personally, I really enjoyed it, and I could feel the concentration on all the Jama'ah that they really enjoyed. May God continue to increase me in knowledge, in my wisdom, and everything. And may God accept this as act of ibadah for you, inshallah. So for the little time we have, if there's any question for our Imam, I will open the floor for everybody.
Just in less than 5 minutes.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
The Quran, you all know, is a very powerful book. And when I was growing up, when we want to find out something, like, when something is missing, they put the key in between the Quran and they wrote it. It is knowing that take this money. Let it be given to it is Taufik. Let it be given to Taufik. So it is permitted. Okay.
صلوا على نبي الكريم. First of all, this is not. No, this is not correct. This is not one of the ways that we use the Quran. The Quran is too big for that kind of application. And that's not even always accurate. That's like you're testing the Quran. So what if it gives you something accurate and you start saying, maybe that Quran is not authentic, get another version of the Quran. Then until you get one that gives you the right answer. So that's not the right application of the Quran. And Allah knows best.
Yeah, I just want to ask this question because when you are talking about when the Quran was revealed on the day of like actual Qadr, I wanted to know if because they will ask, how many days was Quran was revealed to Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Is it just once or throughout its years of message? Or so that's just my question.
Now, that's a good question. I think that one would be good for a quiz for the young ones later. So the Quran was revealed to the Prophet in a span of 20 years. 20 years, that's what you will find in most places. So the Prophet was raised as a messenger at the year 40, when he became 40 years old. In some narrations, you hear that he delivered the message for until he was 63. In most places, you find that it's 63, some say it's 60. So, but the Quran was revealed throughout his lifespan. Sometimes he did not hear anything at all. No revelation was made to him at all. And this is another example of why it is sent in different times. There was a time when the Prophet did not hear anything, no revelation, nothing from the Quran. And he became sad and he started making jest of him. That his Alidolo has not brought, he's not doing well recently now. They didn't bring his Alidolo has not come to visit him. That is when Allah revealed what to her. When the lady Isa said, no, what the Lord has not abandoned you. So you see, now that conforms with what is happening to him at present. But if the Quran was revealed to him as it was, it won't make sense. So again, across the span of 20 years, and that's what you find in most books, and Allah knows.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for a wonderful lecture. This is, you said that most of the revelation that came to Prophet Muhammad and was most of the revelations was written in leaves, rocks, trees, all over the places. How do they compile? Because if Muhammad traveled from one area to the other, who are those people compiling this information? How is it authentic to that extent that they compile everything as it's normally as it's supposed to be? Salaam alaikum.
Well, another very good question. This can be a question that someone asks us and we need to have a response to that. First of all, remember the name of the person that I said Abu Bakr called and asked him to give him the job to go and compile the Quran. The question is, why did he call that person? Zayd bin Thabit is the name of that person. Very important name that we have to remember in Islam. Zayd bin Thabit. He used to be the one that sat with the Prophet usually to write. He was the one knowledgeable in writing. So the Prophet used to have him beside him to record. So when they are writing in leaves and all that, he's usually the one writing all of this. So people will take copies of those leaves. Some of them will memorize it immediately the Prophet says it. Now, as to how did they get all of this? Announcements were made. Because again, he was given the task now to compile all of this. He also has memorized the entire Quran. Wherever the Prophet goes, he has people who go. The person that was with him when a certain verse is revealed might not be with him when another verse is revealed. That's the essence of pollution. when we're not calling everybody together to say, what verse is with you? Sometimes we have the same verses. Sometimes this person has a verse that's a continuation of this person's verse. That's where the collation comes. We announce to everybody we are collating the Quran. And it is not only that time that was done. Remember again, we have some people that memorized from other people. The person that was present has read it to other people. So I have a few verses in a surah with me. And then I'm hearing this person reciting a verse. And I'm asking him, which surah is that verse part of? And it's part of the surah that me I have memorized part of. I'll take that part from him. Right? So when we are now collecting everything together, now we have a whole surah with me. This person has a part of the surah. When he recites it, it's the same as my own, but I have more that I also got from the prophet. So we got all of this together. Now there is a logic to that. Because one might now say, some things might be lost. We just said that people died in war, right? It could be that somebody died that had a verse with him. Allahu Alam. But there's also a verse in the Quran where Allah says, مَا نَنْسَخْ مِنْ آيَةٍ أَوْ نُنْسِهَا نَأْتِي بِخَيْرٍ مِنْهَا أَوْ مِثْلِهَا. We might remove some things from this book. That's also another reason why the book was not reviewed at once. Because Allah says in there that we can cancel some things in this book, or we can cause you to forget. If we remove some things from the book, or we cause you to forget some parts of it, we will replace it with that which is better. So again, the Quran already calls with that. It's covered. If anything is lost, it's because Allah wants us to forget it. It's because it's no longer relevant to us. But that which remains with us is what Allah wants to remain with us. What is important is also to know that everything that remains with us are words of Allah, not words of humans. Everything that remains with us stands the test of time. Everything that remains with us, we have not found any discrepancies in that. Whatever is lost, again, we believe it is the will of Allah that they be lost, because He has said He will make some things to be forgotten. And Allah knows best. Last question.
Please, I have a follow-up question with that. Will you please tell us during what time of Sahara, what Sahara was the Quran decided to be compiled? Yeah, which Sahara? Is it
Abu Bakr? It was Abu Bakr.
Yeah, this is going to be the last question. I just want to inquire information that can we, when we sujood, or anytime we are praying to Almighty Allah, do we use our native language, or whether it's Yoruba, English, or is this specifically by the Quran just to pray by, or by Arabic only?
Now, another very important question. So Arabic is just a language, right? It is not compulsory to, let's say, prayer and then salat, right? In salat, we do salat in Arabic. The reason we do salat in Arabic is because the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli." Pray salat the way you see me praying salat. And how did the Prophet pray salat? In Arabic. Allahu Akbar. You cannot now say, Allah, look to you know. Don't. Say Allah. And salat is everything between the takbiratul ihram and the taslim. That is the first Allahu Akbar and the time when you say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Yeah, you are out of salat. After that, say everything else in your language. Or in any language that you like, even if it is not your language. But within that, the takbiratul ihram and the taslim Arabic, the way the Prophet teaches. Because he said, pray salat the way you see me, and Allah knows me. So that is the only time where we make it compulsory to use Arabic. Every other act of worship, you can use any language to communicate with Allah.
Thank you, Imam. So for now, I think we're just going to break. Then after Salat of Maghrib, we're going to have our Imam pray for the visiting Imam. Then the visiting Imam will pray for the whole Jamaah. So it's time to break now.
That's a break. That's
Don't break it, though. They didn't call.
Oh no. Well, let me say, but it's digital. Again, it's digital.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر. الله